Chainsawman, 50% man, 50% saw. And 100% chance this video is probably gonna get demonetized for blood and gore. Let's jump right in. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. So today we are making a wearable Chainsawman helmet. Now, while the blade isn't gonna move, the jaw is. It's super creepy when the mouth moves, when he talks, and it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a little bit of a longer video though, so I wanna jump right into it. Throughout the video, I'm gonna show you the 3D files, the print orientation, how I printed them, how everything assembles, the paint, and lastly, the gore, the way I'm gonna weather and bloody it up. And I'm really hoping I'm really hoping it doesn't look too good. This way it doesn't get demonetized. But yeah, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. And I'm excited. This thing's gonna come out sick. Let's get started. Okay guys, so this is already sizing up to be a very long video. So let's just get right into the files and we're gonna talk about what you're gonna need to print. This has to be one of the most comprehensive and well put together 3D files I have ever seen. And trust me, I've seen a lot up to this point. He gives you everything: renders, angles, options, color guides. When you download this package for 15 bucks, which is criminally cheap for how much work this man put into this file, look at this thing. Look at these files, the level of detail. There's a choke, like he numbered all of the teeth, everything's color correct. This could not be easier to follow and assemble. He even shows you the print orientation, which I followed on a lot of the parts, but we're gonna talk about the way I printed it in Orca, and we're gonna get to that in a minute. The man even included his own assembly guide. Granted, it's a time lapse and it moves rather quick, and he doesn't show you how to paint it or anything like that, but like, this is amazing. Please go support this guy. So for printing this, I was using Orca Slicer. And if you want more information on how to download Orca and the way it works on literally every 3D printer, so you don't need to switch through, programs and Cura and Elegoo anymore, go check out this video on it. I just uploaded it. It shows you how to download, navigate, install, and some of my print settings. It is super easy and convenient to use, and it's gonna make your prints come out even better. So I decided I was gonna half resin print this helmet and half FDM print this. So this is all the parts that I FDM printed. I stood all of the blade parts up in one build plate, and then over here you can see I have the orange parts, the back of the face plate and the jaw laying on their flat surfaces. Super easy. I have the handles on their back. If they top layer and act a little weird, I can sand them down. I can smooth them with a soldering iron. I'm not too concerned about that. All the little connecting pegs, make sure you print the right amounts. I did not at first. I was missing a couple, so make sure you count how many you're gonna actually need. That's not too bad. The chain links, I could have resin printed these, but the Prusa Mark IV that I'm gonna be using for the FDM prints has a high enough quality where these came out great. I didn't have to worry about that, and I just covered them in filler primer anyway. And then last was the gums. Now I just laid these flat because I wanted the gums to top layer, and I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So just get everything printed. I stood the top mask part up just fine, and I used tree supports for everything. You can see it all printed just beautifully, and this is what I mean by top layering on the gums. It gave like a topographical look, and I think that was just adding to the effect of what I imagine demon chainsaw gums would be. Yeah, it worked out. In total, for all the FDM parts, we were looking at just over 1 roll of filament, which isn't bad at all. Now, I did not save a video of me using Chitterbox for this, and I do not want to go and rearrange all of those teeth, but basically I took my resin printers, my Creality Halot 1 and my Megasonic 8KS, you've seen those in other videos. I stood all of the teeth and the chainsaw blade teeth, I stood them all up, resin printed them so they were super sharp and detailed. They came out great. As for the back of the helmet, the really nice detailed chainsaw part, I had a resin print that. Are you kidding me? Look at the detail he put onto this thing. And you're gonna see how that came out in a minute. And there was a little bit of a snafu with that, but it worked out great, especially for the balance of the helmet and just how heavy this thing was gonna weigh, because the blade, even though it was plastic, still wanted to weigh down, but we're gonna get to that later. So however you need to print these things, go and print them, get them off at the best quality as possible. You don't need to resin print the back of the helmet, but if you have a resin printer that can fit it, I highly recommend it. It is just a beautiful model. So we're gonna jump into the garage and get to building this thing. I'm excited. Okay, so my wireless lav mic is acting up right now. I'm trying to get it replaced, but I really want to work on this helmet. It came out amazing. These prints are beautiful. Initially, I had broken up some of the prints on my FL Sun and some other printers, but that Prusa Mark IV, the quality on it just absolutely blew my other printers out of the water for the time being, so I just did it all on that. The only issue I've had so far is one of the resin prints. It lifted a little bit from the supports. You can see it right there, it doesn't quite line up. So I'm gonna have to go and reprint this bottom piece. This part came out fine. I really don't want to waste it, but it just looks weird. And then these vents on the back don't close up or line up. So I think I'm gonna go and reprint this, but this, I can attach this at the very end. This is a low stakes part. I can get everything else built and assembled. So that's what we're gonna do. So assembly just started with me slotting in the pegs, using some hot glue to hold them in. I was actually out of super glue at this point, and it didn't really matter because I was gonna go and PLA weld the seams of the blade together, because I'm gonna be using filler primer and a little bit of Bondo spot putty to make the blade one long seamless piece, because I want it to be nice and shiny and not see any of those issues. From there, once that was all assembled, then it was just fusing the little head part. I don't even know how to really describe it. It's the little back parts of the orange mask. I think he just separated these. This way they could print flat. So again, throw the pegs in, glue it together. I PLA welded this, and these were just gonna get a good round of sanding and priming eventually. But I wanted to dry fit and test the entire helmet together first. I haven't really covered it in too much depth in videos, and maybe eventually I will. But right here, I am doing resin filling and fusing. I'm taking the two resin printed pieces and taking uncured resin, spreading it in through the cracks where the part meets, and using a UV light to cure it. This is a great way to fuse resin printed parts. I just recently did it in my Inverted Spear of Heaven video. So if you want to go see a little bit more about resin fusing, you can go check that out. But I'm just basically filling in the cracks, curing it, rinsing and repeating little bit by little bit to fill in those seams. And it works great. I also went and hot glued all of the teeth in with the alignment. Again, make sure you're paying attention to those numbers that he has laid out in the photos. This way you put them all in the right spot. This way they're not angled the wrong way or anything. I will eventually go and super glue those into place. I just didn't have any super glue at the time, but now they're in there permanently with no issues. After a little bit of fussing, the dry fit was done. Everything fit perfectly, and I could actually already move my jaw in the mask, so it was time to take it back apart and start sanding and priming and painting it. The first round of sanding and priming was super simple. I was using the Duplicolor high build fill filler primer. This stuff is great. I'm using the gray here. If you can get your hands on the red, it works a little better. But whatever filler primer you want to use, just rinse and repeat. Pretty basic 3D print sanding and post-processing. Spray it, soak it, rinse, repeat until it's nice and smooth. As for the resin printed parts like the back of the helmet, I was using a red Duplicolor sandable primer because there isn't much filling to do on this thing. I just needed a good base coat for the paint I was going to eventually use. So dust this with whatever you need just to start getting it to look nice and pretty. You can see there are definitely some spots here I missed, but we were going to go back and touch that up as we went through the process of sanding and priming. Just again, rinse, repeat, use some Bondo spot putty if you need to, fill in those cracks and seams, and just get it smooth. Because the Prusa had printed all of these parts already incredibly smooth, I didn't need many rounds of sanding and priming. I'm actually doing a little bit of wet sanding here, and then I'm just going to go back over it and make sure there's no seams left. I ended up having to do 2 rounds of the Bondo spot putty, only because as it dries, it does shrink a little bit, so you have to build it up a few times. Not the end of the world, and the results were very much worth it. Once I was happy with the smoothness of the orange parts, the mask and the little jaw, I was using a standard Rust-Oleum orange. I couldn't find a better orange for it. This is what I imagined somebody would paint a chainsaw with, like a Husqvarna or something, and I really like how it came out. I didn't even use a clear coat on it. This stuff was great. Now, initially, I had just painted the teeth and the gums like a normal white color. However, I realized that these need to be like a gross, grody yellow color. So I took a little bit of white modeling paint and yellow modeling paint and mixed them together and just hand brushed over all of the teeth, and it actually gave it a nice matte texture instead of the high gloss white I had initially used. So you can make these as gross and unapproachable as you want. And now you can see here that I am going and adding the blood and gore to this helmet. This is going to be a big point through the rest of this video, and I'm going to talk more in depth later on how I was able to do this, but we're going to jump back to live action Frank real quick to explain a little bit more about what's going on here. Hi guys, live action Frank here. That's crazy. So for the weathering and the blood and gore and guts that are obviously going to go on this helmet, there's a million ways to do this. There are dedicated YouTube tutorials on all of the right paints to get for modeling and gore and special effects. I did it my way, and I think it came out pretty cool. I just went to Hobby Lobby, and I just got an assortment of reds and black modeling paint, and I was just mixing them together. If you do a little bit of research online, some people will even recommend dropping in some blue into the red, because that gives it like a more bloody look. You use the black paints to pull the darkness down. I even found a cool rust color that I was touching up the back of the helmet with. So experiment with this. This part should be fun, and trust me, it is. Being able to mix everything up and start to get that like viscousy kind of bloody look. Anyway, yeah, I'm very happy with how this all came out. So just experiment with it. Use some scrap plastic or metal or whatever you have lying around and just experiment with mixing everything up. Get some cheap throwaway brushes, get some metal paint tins, and just have fun with it. And maybe you're not even gonna bloody or weather it up. That's totally up to you. The trick I was using to do the teeth at least was really building it up near the bottom of the gums to just imagine that's where things would probably drip to and build up, and just being really non-precise with the brush strokes, just flicking paint across it, really just making a mess of it and building it up as I went. I'd start with a lighter red, then I'd add some more blacks and then make it a little bit darker, a little bit darker, a little bit darker, until I was happy with it. So again, like I said before, just have fun with it and make it as dirty and grody and however bad you want it to be. Then at the very end, I was actually taking some hot glue and making saliva drips between the teeth and building it up in between where the teeth met at the bottom to simulate just some drool. There are, again, a tons of different ways to do this and other things you can use, resins and epoxies, but the hot glue seemed to work just fine and I was happy with it. The next thing I wanted to do during the assembly was do a little bit of window tint behind the mask visor part. This way you just couldn't see my eyes through it and I would be able to see out of it. I have a tutorial on making visors with window tint and clear acrylic, or you can use a welder's visor. I'll link that video down below if you want to learn how to tint visors and do whatever you want. Great for Mandalorian helmets. Now, this part got a little glossed over, and I apologize. I thought I had footage of me painting this. I did it actually on a Twitch live stream, so if you want to see me doing other stuff, don't forget to go check out my Twitch, haha. But I used a Duplicolor Perfect Match magnetic and gunmetal paint for the back of the helmet. That was the base I did just to give it a nice metallic look, and then I went around with some silvers and some golds and just touched up all the little parts and details. It was super fun to do, but it took forever, and it's not something that I would like be able to put in a shorter YouTube video. So just take your time with it, detail it as much as you want. What's really cool about detailing stuff like this is you can use silver Sharpies, you can use paint markers, Gundam markers. There's so many different ways to approach this and just have fun with it. As for the assembly of the jaw, this was also really fun to do. I went and bought these large black rubber bands off of Amazon and then cut them into strips. And this is how you assemble the movable jaw. There's tiny holes you can loop the rubber band through in order to give it the proper dexterity and flexibility. You can print the static jaw if you want. I just wanted this to be able to move. So definitely take your time with this. I'm realizing as I'm filming this video and trying to wrap this up, I never printed the chain link covers for it, but maybe one day I'll go back and print those. You kind of can't really tell, but maybe you guys will see that on Instagram or like in a future video. Oh well. Okay, here we go. The helmet is done with the assembly. Because the way I need to film this and I'm kind of running out of time before I have to leave for Florida, I'm gonna do a test fitting right now and we're gonna wear it and see how it looks before I bloody up the blade and give this the gore that the teeth have. And I just wanna see what it looks like and how the fitment and everything is. And then I'm gonna take it off, finish editing a lot of this, bloody up the blade, and at the end of the video you guys will be able to see the entire thing done. I can't put it on right now with the blade wet and stuff, and I need to film everything today, so that's fun. So I have a black balaclava that I wear under my Iron Man helmets. I'm gonna put that on to hide my ears and stuff. So let's get this thing assembled. So because of the way this back piece is and I didn't scale it up, I need to remove the jaw in order to get this on. It works. It works. This is so creepy. The weight sucks. It definitely is top heavy, like I expected. I think, I don't even know if gluing weights in the back would do it. It would really, I need to pull down on this thing pretty hard to get it to cooperate. But if I let it forward, it sits on the jaw and then the jaw doesn't move. But it's a display piece. And if I ever want to do a actual Chainsawman cosplay, I can reprint the blade, probably lighter. That would probably work out. but I can see perfectly. I can see right through the teeth. I can see through the sides. The tint was a great idea. And I don't think you guys can see much of my face. I can see a little bit of it there. But this is so cool. I have to do a Chainsawman cosplay, don't I? Huh. Yep. Okay, definitely not the easiest thing in the world to put on and take off. And now that I know how this assembles, if I do make a second one that isn't resin and heavy as heck and fits my head better, I definitely know the do's and don'ts of it. But enough about that. Let's get the blade bloodied and finished, and we will do the big final reveal of this thing. I can't wait. It came out so cool. Now it's on to bloodying up the blade itself. You can see the paint's done here. This is a standard Rust-Oleum high metallic chrome paint. I use this on the inverted spear of heaven. It goes on beautifully. I don't have any footage of me actually painting the blade, but it's just shiny chrome spray paint. Get it as nice and glossy as you want, or dirty it up, or however you want to do that. But I wanted the blade to look as real as possible, and I think I nailed that. From there, it was just mixing up all of those reds and those bloods and just having a good old time making this thing a mess. And the nicer that the blade came out, the more it reflected and accentuated all of the gore that I was about to put on it. The last little trick I was doing, and I just didn't get the best angle of it, I was actually diluting the paint with a little bit of lighter fluid. This would actually make the paint run, and I was taking the brush and flicking the paintbrush at the blade to give it a realistic blood splatter. The best way to do weathering, and I guess in this case, you know, fake blood, is to make it as chaotic as possible. You can't predict where things are going to splatter. Just let them actually splatter in that direction. The same with weathering. You want it to be as chaotic as possible, and just flicking the diluted blood, letting it run and drip down the blade was the perfect way to get this to look as real as possible. I was also dropping it onto the teeth, letting it dilute the color of the paint on the teeth, and just making a good old mess. There's paint all over my desk now, but we'll be okay. So I don't have a long sleeve white shirt, so I did the best I could. This is the blade completed. This is the whole helmet done. It came out so cool. This might be one of my favorite props I've ever made. The jaw working, that's just the icing on the cake, I think. I couldn't be happier with it. Obviously, it's still a little top heavy. I could not wear this to a con. It would do permanent damage to my neck. But I would definitely love to figure out a way to make it more comfortable and do a Chainsawman cosplay, because the helmet came out real awesome. I don't think I could take this blade to a con, because this is sharp enough to do bodily damage to somebody if I whacked them with it. So I got to figure that out. I'm going to put this on display, and we'll do the rest of the outro, because this is uncomfortable. Okay. I look like I'm about to sell car insurance. Hold on. A little more manageable. This thing is amazing. This might be, I thought Yoru was my favorite prop, but man, this is incredible. I can't wait to put this on display. I'm gonna need to figure out a corner. What do you do with this? Like, I guess I could walk around a con like this and just I'm really proud of this thing, guys. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns about anything you saw in the video, please leave some comments down below. I know there was stuff that kind of got skipped or skimmed over, but it was a really fun build. It's pretty straightforward. The files are beautifully and clearly laid out, and it's just a matter of how you want to build it and assemble it. I didn't do anything too fancy or crazy to it. I'm just super happy with how the blood and gore came out, and it's an awesome display piece. And this movable jaw is just the icing on the cake. If you guys like this video, please consider subscribing to the channel. I have a lot more anime-based props that are going to be coming out over the next year, between Chainsawman, Jujutsu Kaisen, One Piece, all of that fun stuff. My Hero, there is something amazing that's going to be coming out in the My Hero anime eventually, and I cannot wait to make it. It kind of looks like this thing. But yeah, we'll get to that later. So as always, guys, thank you so much for watching, and you have a good day. That's terrifying.